Alright, we're here today and we're going to tread the waters of dubious advice here, and I'm going to tell you why you don't need a palette. There are times when you're feeling lazy or maybe you just have to touch up a few spots, and the idea of bringing a palette out isn't palatable. Ha ha ha. And sometimes you may just not really have room on your desk for it. Today I'm going to be demonstrating a couple cases in which a palette just, in my mind, isn't necessary. So you see Mr. Croxigore here, he's got most of a base coat on him, but I missed up a spot. So the first case where you don't need a palette, we're going to take some Stegadon Scale Green, and we're just going to essentially take it right from the pot. Now the key to not using a palette is that you still kind of want to thin your brushes a little bit. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take Mr. Brush here, and we are going to wet it, and then just kind of remove the excess water from the tip. And then that's to keep a good shape on the brush, and then we'll dip it a little bit just like Duncan does in his videos, and then just take it straight from the pot. And then the palette is the lip there, and that way you still get a thinned paint and you still get a control of how much paint you have. You're just eliminating the middleman, as it were. And then we're just going to put this on like so, and so you'll still find that you get good coverage. Okay, easy, no palette required. The second case where you don't necessarily need a palette is with Games Workshop metallic paints. The medium in these paints is such that in the base paints it doesn't need it, and the layer paints are so poorly congealed. I don't know, there's a correct term for it, but they're so poor in their coverage that thinning them down just isn't necessary. But again, I just take straight from the pot. That's what this little shelf is actually for. That is a palette. And we'll get the brush control by wiping on the sides, and then you just apply straight out of the pot, to the horror of professional painters everywhere. But Retributor Armor, in my mind, is such a great paint that you don't need any special treatment. And if you wanted to thin this, if you wanted just a little bit more brush control, same thing. You dip it a tiny bit into the water, dip it into the pot, and get your brush control right there. The third case where you don't need a palette is, for instance, this base. That's a 50mm base, and I want that all to be Mechanicus Standard Gray. So here's my gray. I'm going to shake that up. Open the pot, and then I'm just going to grab a giant brush. Let's see. So this is going to be a number 5, and again we're going to wet the brush in the water to shape the tip. Don't lick your brush, people. Just don't. Stop it. And then straight from the pot we're going to dip it in water. I'm going to take quite a bit this time, and then just go straight into the shelf there. And again, we get this for brush control. and we're going to stick it right on there. Because this is a giant coverage area, I'm not even worried about consistency. Sometimes when you do this, it'll be too thin. Sometimes when you do that, it'll be too thick. You just adjust your ratio right there as necessary. I'm going to grab some more water. Wrap it right into the pot. And that, I can tell right on that ridge, is too thin. But that's fine because I need large coverage. We can still do 2 coats. The final case I'm going to lay out, not needing a palette, washes. This is just, it's ridiculous. You don't, yes, fine brush control, but you can do it without a palette. Eliminate the middleman wherever possible. So Agrax Earthshade, I'm just going to take right from the shelf. Make sure I got quite a bit on there. And then just apply it. And I like this because I like the Agrax Earthshade to pile up, especially for skeletons. I want it in the eyes as a big black pool. And you're going to be going over this again anyway with the layer paints, so I don't need it to look pretty. It's just on there, straight from the pot. Yoink, dip, brush control, application. Given the case scenarios that I laid out, I almost, with Games Workshop paints, I'll almost never use a palette. I don't see the need for it, and in my opinion, my miniatures come out just fine. Now, I'm not going in for competition, but even if I was, I would still make the case for thinning the paint as much as you need by dabbing it in as much water or as little water as you want. You can even wick it off on your paper towels, and then just mixing the ratio either in the lid itself or on the side of the pot. That is quite enough, and you can finish a miniature like that way. Now the dropper bottles, obviously you can't do that, so with your Vallejo colors and your Scale 75 colors, I have a palette for that, but as you can see, it's buried. It doesn't get too much use. Thanks everybody for treading water with me in Dubious Advice.